let's just start. It's actually take two. That's pretty funny. But anyway, today we're basically throwing out the book. Actually, I've got a small book. I've written down a few little notes. But we're talking about one particular subject, and we're just going to see where that leads us. And that is radical self-honesty, radical self-accountability, right? That is what we're talking about today. Now, I know this is a subject that you love. We've talked about this a lot. We've agreed on a lot of things here. I've taken a few notes that I want your reactions to, but we're just going to see where we land. You happy with that?
Yeah.
How are you today, by the way?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Radical self-accountability. I'm going to start by defining it, and maybe you can start by reacting to that. Basically, that there is the world out there. That's one thing. There's external things. There's things that we make excuses about. But in the end, everything that happens, everything that we do proactively, reactively, every single thing that we do or don't do is in the end on us. The accountability is on us to make progress, react correctly, look after our health, our nutrition, our work, our whatever, everything. In the end, even if others are acting a certain way, it's up to us to be totally accountable for how we act and react. Have I captured it, do you think, correctly?
Yes, but I think you're still you're focusing on the reactive side of things. I also believe that we are wholly accountable for all of the circumstances in our life.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Even when, what about if it's not in your hands? What if something actually happens, you know, good, bad, indifferent, or very bad?
Okay, in that circumstance, if you have fully analysed the situation, fully thought it through, and there is literally no way that you could possibly bring it back to a choice or decisions or omissions or whatever of your own, then what is in your control?
Reaction.
How you react to it, right?
Yep.
So, sure, some people get unwell. Sometimes that health condition is born of poor health choices over a whole lifetime.
And let's say sometimes it's not. Like let's say,
and sometimes it's not.
Right.
So I think that's a really good example that sometimes it's not. And in that case, what's in your control? How you react to it.
Exactly.
Sometimes it is because of you. And if you can't face it.
Well, that's okay. I've written down a few things. Sorry, I've got to get past this little plant here. I'm getting accustomed to the new chairs. So I've made a little list here that I like some of your reactions to, and let's just use them as primers to get into this subject, because we both love this subject.
Yes.
We've both had difficulty with this subject, like radical self-accountability. Like we were both excuse makers, and in some ways we still are. Like in some categories we still are.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. But we are very serious about this. Like this is a pursuit that we're both trying to be, eventually get to, I mean, there's no end, but getting as close to the perfect as you can. Okay. When something goes wrong, even if others have acted improperly, asking yourself the question, what did I contribute to this situation, and or should I have seen this coming? What do you think of that preliminary primer?
Should I have seen this coming, is that what you're saying is in your control, and then you could have hit it, cut it off at the pass?
Yes. Let's say someone rips you off. One of your friends steals money from you, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Should I have seen, I know this person, should I have seen that they were going to do that? Should I have noticed the clues?
Yes.
Should I have been more observant? Should I have, et cetera?
Yep.
And how did I contribute to it? Did I enable them? Did I this? Did
What
I that?
messaging did I give about my conduct? What information did I provide to all that? Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So when something goes wrong, it's very easy to say, oh, it's this person, oh, it's that person, oh, it's there. But it's really worth, from a radical self-accountability point of view, to say, what did I contribute to this, and or should I have seen this coming?
Yes.
Could I have seen this coming? How do I do it the next time? I mean, the reason that when you fall in a hole the next time you're like looking for holes everywhere is because your memory of that is because your body is trying to protect you from it happening again. So if you can't take accountability for your contribution to the situation,
happen again.
You can't prevent it happening again. You keep falling for the same trick.
And like, there's two things I just want to talk about. The first thing is, I don't see self-accountability as being a way to beat yourself up, right? And blame yourself.
Well, we're going to prime something on that a little bit later, but yes, carry on.
So just to be clear, this is not about self-flagellation. Oh, it's all my fault. That's just more non-accountability.
It's childish.
It is childish, right? So that's kind of the first part. And the second part is that if you don't take accountability for everything, what a feeling of out of controlness it must be to truly believe that nothing in your life is in your control. You are completely at the whim of every single external factor. That your mood in a day can be completely tipped upside down by what happens when you're driving to work or the first email you get.
Some idiot can turn the whole day.
That if you're not actually in control of yourself and you don't accept that you're shaping the world around you, and then the way you are reacting to it is shaping how your thoughts and feelings about it, it's almost like being thrown in the ocean and just letting the waves toss you around.
Yeah, without a boat or a life jacket or a this or a that. Like you're not making any intervention.
And I think that people get, for some reason, very comfortable.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So my next primer is from a radical self-accountability. You can just set goals today, starting today, and you can just do things. There's actually nothing stopping you today, you, me, all of us, writing down 4 or 5 goals and just starting to work toward them.
Yes.
And we pretend, I do it, I procrastinate on this, right? That there's some imaginary barrier stopping us, that it's not, there's a reason, there's an excuse, there's a this, there's a that. When if you actually just said 90 days from now I'm going to be here, you can be there.
Yes.
Right? What do you think of that?
You know what? I'll be really honest with you. It annoys me that my immediate thought on this part of it is the comments on a TikTok page, on a YouTube page. And here's my view. When I talk about this stuff, I have love for everybody, and you meet people where they are.
Yep.
Okay. If you're choosing to be in the waves and ride the waves and rely on the external factors, blame that is cool. That's your life. Go for it. Yeah. I don't want to hear on our TikTok page, on our YouTube page, on anything about this topic. If you are coming to listen and learn and open your mind a little bit and look inward. I was just talking about how I've stopped doing the artist way, and I'm blaming the fact that my daughter comes into bed in the morning when I'm writing the morning pages and wants a cuddle.
There's no hypocrisy here.
Right.
We are like rolling failures at this.
So I get it. There are hurdles. There are things that make everything harder. But at the end of the day, they're harder because of us and our choices. So just that's where I go. I think people just hear everything's possible and they're like, well, Christian, Laura, you're not thinking about all the...
My very specific reasons,
cool.
examples,
that's
excuses.
That's your process, dude. Like we're all up against different things and we all have... But what we're talking about now is instead of thinking about those things or looking the tiger in the eye and saying, okay, here's all these things that I have thought and believed I'm up against, I'm going to start knocking them over. So that's what I think about when you say you can write goals and you can go and achieve them. It's all the whatabouts.
Let's put them to one side. And let's say that, by the way, is non-judgmental way of saying it. Like we are whatabouts sometimes. We've been whatabouts. This is not, but
daily.
Today we're not interested in them. What we're interested in is that somebody, anybody watching this, like you and I, in fact, when we walk out of here, can get a blank sheet of paper, write down 5 goals, set a time frame, and just do it.
Yes.
And to pretend that anything else is true is nonsense.
Yes.
Like all of us can do that today, and wherever you're starting from. Your 5 goals might be embarrassingly small based on where you are.
Yep.
But you can do it. And you can set 5 more. And you can set 5 more. Or you set 1.
Yep.
So that was, I don't know I think we got it there. That was good. So, primer, are you relying on consistent excuses? Are you falling back into the same set of excuses?
Yeah.
I do this. I actually do this.
Yes.
I will say, let's say, this is such a wanky example, but I'm going to use it because, like, I'll be at the gym and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that exercise because I've got a limitation injury, whatever. I had a lot of injury. I don't want to do that thing because if I did 30 days of that thing, I would push well past that limitation. Like that limitation would be nullified. And I do it subconsciously. I build in subconscious barriers to how hard I can push myself because I'm like, nah, I don't want to get injured, which of course is a smart way of doing it. But at the same time, it's not true.
Yes.
Like I could go and if I went and picked up the kettlebells and did 4 or 5 sets of 1, 2, 3, 4 every day for the every second day for the next 30 days, I would bust through a lot of those issues. But I continue to rely on that same excuse in the moment.
Well, we decided to talk about this off the back of, I've been laughing about the clips and the YouTube sections and the topics you cover that go absolutely gangbusters online are almost always manager bashing topics. Not manager bashing, but like how to deal with a difficult manager.
How to deal with an external. They're external.
How to deal with someone who's white-anting you in the workplace. Right? And like they're important and interesting topics. But God, everyone, they are rabid for it. You know why?
They're lining up to kick.
Because it's about somebody else, not about them. So it's like your excuse, right? People just love to think in the workplace. And I'm getting lots of these queries like, how do I deal with this person? None of them look at themselves and say, first, I've acknowledged that in myself I am like this and therefore this is the result I'm getting from an employee. How do I bridge the gap? None of them. It's always this person is doing this. It's become my problem. How do I fix them?
Interesting you say that because on a rare occasion, we get a lot of messages. On a rare occasion, I'll get a message from someone saying, I've got this situation. I've come this far. I've got a limitation that I need to improve on, right? And I will move heaven and earth to help that person.
Yes.
I'm like, wow.
Yes.
I'm unreal.
I remember when I was still quite early on in my career, but I was senior enough that I was working with lots of juniors. And for a couple of months, I would just get back, you're right? I would just get back pieces of work that were just shambolic and they didn't answer the question. And these were really smart young people, like incredibly smart and quite, they had some experience, not total newbies. And I'd get really frustrated. Why are they just not getting it? And I stopped because I just kept getting this same result over. It didn't matter who I asked to do the work. I kept getting the shambolic results. And then I realised I was incredibly poor at explaining the task.
Yep.
Incredibly poor. I was really bad at explaining the background.
Yep.
I didn't give the right background documents. I didn't give enough direction.
Just because you were rushing to the...
No, I think just my brain had so much in it that it was like I was taking for granted the knowledge that I had.
Right.
And so I wasn't relaying that.
So you're talking to yourself, not talking to them. Yeah, got it.
And so I think this is what I'm talking about. People think, oh, these juniors are doing a really bad job.
Nobody's listening.
Well, hang on. If I am the common denominator here, what am I doing wrong? What can I do differently? And so that's kind of what kicked us off to say, let's have a conversation about this, because so much of the leadership, career, life, questions and advice that comes to us, or that we've had to be thinking about, is focused on external factors. And let's face it, that's the easy way out.
Of course it is. And it's also true, by the way. Like it doesn't say that it doesn't exist, but it's...
Like 9 times out of 10, there's a lot that you can be doing to shift.
There's a really sticky one. I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to do it.
Go on.
I might edit it out later. I'm joking. I won't edit it out later.
Come on.
When it comes to finding love.
Oh.
People will say, all these people out there are this, that, and the other. That like all the guys are duds, or all the girls are this, or all the right, whatever. And I honestly think to myself, what are you doing? What are you bringing? What are you working on in yourself?
Yes.
To make yourself more attractive, for lack of a better expression? Like, what are you doing? Are you just sitting back and waiting and thinking that Well, if everyone is sitting back and waiting and no one's doing anything about themselves, no one's appealing to anyone.
Yep.
But if you want to get further in, you want to find someone that is, you actually act proactively and actively build yourself into the person that is the version of you, of the person you want to meet.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Now, that is extremely confronting to people, and I get it. That's why I don't volunteer it very often. What kind of oil painting am I telling people to be doing that? But it's the real deal. Like, if you want to attract a person, attract a job, attract to this, attract whatever it is, you have to be the version of you that you're confident can win that situation.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, then you can't expect the outcome.
Stop blaming.
Right? Then what are you going to do? Blame for the next 10 years and be a bitter, twisted person? No. Choose to go and build the person you want to be, to meet the goal that you want to meet, and you can do it. Now, okay, all right. This is not easy.
So what about we talk about how we actually do this, how to do this in practice? Or did you have something, a different
I have more prompts. More prompts. All right. I don't know if this one will pass comment, but you treat people how to teach. You teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
You teach people how to treat you.
Right.
So there's no point making excuses and complaints about how people treat you
if you're not changing your...
If you're giving them those signals
Yep.
on how to treat you. What do you think about that one?
I'm all in on that. All in on that. Again, it's not easy, and what's easy is to just demonize everybody around you.
Oh, these people, they don't, this one's lying to me, this one's doing this one's doing that, no one ever listens to me, that sort of thing. Okay, if you want people to listen to you, one, are you bringing something worth listening to? Two, how are you actually communicating? Are you communicating in a way that they're going to hear?
Yes.
Do you have to sit someone down and reset your relationship and say, hey, here's what... These are hard conversations, by the way.
Or even scarier and uglier and hairier, are you worth listening to?
That's what I said. You're bringing something.
We're just... I know I'm being tough.
You are being tough.
But we're just in this world that a lot of people just think that they should get what they want just because.
Okay, let's say that someone has something worth hearing, but they can't get it across, right?
Yep.
It could mean you're at the wrong tribe, right?
Sure.
One. Two, it could be the way you're communicating and the audience that you're hitting, it's not in a way that they're going to hear. If you can't tailor it to your audience, they're not going to hear it, right?
Yep.
If you're trying to tell your teenager this, that, or the other, they're just not going to hear you. You have to put it in a way that they can understand.
Yes.
Oh, they never listen to me. It's like, that's not an excuse. They're a 15-year-old, 14, 13-year-old.
You're the adult.
It's not their job to listen to you. You have to put it in a package they can actually deal with, right? Anyway, so you teach people how to treat you. My next primary is victimhood mentality is extremely seductive.
Yeah. Again, it's you jump in the waves. You're not responsible. Bad things just happen to you. You're never going to get ahead.
It is so seductive, and I'm really, truly empathetic to people who get caught in the victimhood cycle.
Yep.
Because, and I will say, and this is a bit of a reach, but I'm going to do it, particularly in the era of social media, because if you have a grievance, real or invented, and you take it to the market, to the social media market, you will find an audience for it.
Yeah.
And it will give you positive or negative reinforcement one way or the other, but it will give you reinforcement.
Yeah.
And that dopaminergic system in your body will, if it feels like there's a reward there, continue to reinforce it before you even realize what's going on. Mm-hmm. So if you allow that victimhood narrative in the door, now some people have very real victim situations, right? So I'm not in any way let's separate that out.
Yeah.
If you allow, let's say, false victimhood or light victimhood narrative in, it can consume your entire reward system and give you a boost, dopaminergic boost every time.
And then just in a feedback loop because you start to believe it, and then guess what? Things keep happening that make it true, make you right.
They say, and your body will actually guide you toward things that will make it happen because that's what your reward system becomes built on. I mean, that is frightening. And maybe if that's where you are right now, you're thinking, oh, what the hell have I wasted the last 5 years of my life on these invented victimhood situations, which we do. I did for years. I created, this is fault, it's that fault. I wasted years on this. Seriously, blaming. And then turn the lens around and went, hang on, buddy, how much are you contributing to this? How much of this should you be seeing coming? How much of this is real? How much of this is invented? How much of this is a cloak that you're allowing to cover yourself in, to absolve yourself of responsibility? Until you're willing to look the tiger in the eyes, that expression we love that you used, you're going to live here. You're going to live here. Okay, new prompt. This is one for you. Radical self-accountability does not mean toxic perfectionism.
No.
This is really important.
No. I think radical accountability comes hand in hand with truly knowing yourself.
Yep.
And accepting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not toxic positivity, and it's also not, that's just how I am.
So that's, again, absolving yourself of responsibility.
Right.
But it's also not toxic negativity.
But
I'm the worst, I'm the this, I'm terrible.
No.
This was all my fault. So let's say the situation
even if
where...
it is all your fault, you can say, that's okay, but it is all my fault.
It's all my fault. I should have known better.
Yep.
I will make sure it doesn't happen again. This is what I'm doing to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And if it does happen again.
I was all my fault. I'm still going to make it better. I'm going to do everything I can to make it better next time.
Because you'll never actually go through this process and go through it well if you want to shame yourself consistently with this, oh man, I caused this. If then that throws you down into, like I said, into a hole,
Yep.
it doesn't work, doesn't help you. You have to say, okay, I caused this, that therefore I can fix this, therefore I can change this, not I caused this, I'm the worst person in the world, I have regrets, I feel so bad. Like, it's not useful. And it's, again...
And it's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. Okay, I'm going to just go on a little tangent here. To be revisionist about decisions you've made, mistakes you've made, like, you have to look at it through the lens of what you knew at the time. So when you're 20 years old, the decisions and the stupid mistakes you made through the lens of a 20-year-old. To then look at it as a 40-year-old, how was I so stupid? How did I not know?
Yeah.
You got 20 more years of wisdom, and you got to look at it. You can't be revisionist about the decisions you made in the past. Oh, why did I marry this person? Why did I join that club? Why did I do...
No, but you have to accept that you played the part.
100%. So 20-year-old me
Yep.
made a very poor decision that I obviously wouldn't make now, let's say. But also, these are the steps I would take if I did make another poor decision to make sure that I, mitigate, etc. But don't be revisionist about, like, we are where we are, we know what we know. Don't try and overlay current knowledge on previous decision making, right?
Yeah.
So toxic negativity, toxic perfectionism, that sort of stuff is not the answer. All right, the final one on this is the worst kind of lying is lying to yourself. And I will tell you, you can lose a decade of your life lying to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And I suppose some people could spend their whole life lying to themselves, but you can lose years on this. Is that you're lying to yourself, you're lying to everyone. It's not painful lying, you're not hurting anybody, but it's not true. You know it's not true, and you're slowly eating at your soul when you're lying to yourself.
Yes.
There might be things about yourself, there almost certainly will be, of course, that you do not like. You do not think it up to the standard that you'd like them to be. Do something about them or don't, but don't lie to yourself about where you are. What do you think about that?
I'm all in on that. And I like it, thinking about it even more from the spiritual level.
Oh, yes, please.
You are whatever you are inside. And the more you build scaffolding or fakery in your own mind about what you are, who you are, the more you ignore, then that internal and let's call mind and external becomes so incongruent.
Yep.
That I think drives so much anxiety, so much despair, so much unhappiness. And so really knowing who you actually are, warts and all.
Yep.
Right? There's no Mother Teresa in us. Like, warts and all, the closer you can get to understanding, honestly and truthfully, who you are, what triggers you, the negative aspects of your personality, your limitations, but then on the flip side, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
The closer you get to being real about that, the closer you get to this inner person and the more, I don't know, I know it's woo-woo, aligned with yourself, the universe, you become. And so
But what you do with it then is up to you. But
Sure.
to actually know it.
you have to know it. You can't pretend. And again, when you can look internally and you see yourself, then you start thinking about how you're moving around in the world. Is it the inner? Is it a version of the inner and the outer? Is it some fakery? What is that version in the world, like a little sim, right? What is that little person going out in the world doing and causing?
Yeah.
It's all on you,
And how
mate.
is it harming your real self? So it's interesting you say alignment. I think alignment's a really good word. Like if you imagine there's your real self and then there's whatever you're pretending to be, and the closer you can get those together and like get them, if you can get them
Yes.
exactly in the middle,
And I think like
your
lots
life,
of people's anxiety and, like feeling low and feeling down is because I think they know something deep down about themselves, but because they refuse to face it, they're not bringing it to bear in like the real world. And so something just feels off, but they don't want to look at it. That's why, we medicate ourselves with the phones and alcohol and drugs and food. We're just like self-soothing all the time, this stuff that we don't want to see in ourselves.
Yeah.
This is easier. We're all, I
It's
mean,
funny, it's not though.
what's not easier?
It's not easier. It's like saying that you got to weigh the total cost. The total cost is not easier.
No, but there's a lot of effort.
Oh, no, it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying over a long enough timeline, it's not easier.
So-
Okay, let me riddle you this, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather look into your own abyss, right? See what reflects back at you. Be careful. You might fall in. Not easy. Unwinding learned behaviors, like all this other business. Shattering your own personas, and then you got to be a bit scared. What's behind that? When I break those personas, what's actually there? What have I got to work with? So that's hard. Option 2, fucking pretend for the next 30 years of your life.
Christian, until I realised that I was pretending, if you'd asked me that question, I would have chosen the pretending as the answer.
It's the Matrix question, isn't it?
But as soon as I worked it out, and I think it just comes with age and experience and time, some people work it out earlier, some people never work it out. Once I realised, now there's no looking back, and I will just keep getting deeper and deeper into the abyss, like you said. And I tell you what, there's moments where I really want to throw my toys out. Like I'm angry. I'm angry because I'm so habitually used to, for example, having a scapegoat.
Yes.
With a particular thing.
Yes.
And reacting a certain way and
Yes.
throwing energy and emotion outward. And then when I have the presence of mind and I stop and I go, okay, I see how I caused this.
It was me.
It was me. I could have handled this better, or the language I used was wrong, or my timing was off, or whatever, or I was being lazy and therefore, I told you this morning when I came home from my hot mat class, my weighted hot mat class, and there was a new teacher. She was excellent. And we moved from doing one move with shoulder presses, and then we were doing a different move, and then she's like, okay, let's move to shoulder presses. And I straight away started getting really angry in my head. I was like, why are we doing, like, what is this woman doing? Does she know what she's
Obviously
doing?
a ridiculous response,
Why did
but
she
yes.
write this into the plan? We just did shoulder presses. Why are we doing? And then I stopped and I was like, you know what? My body is actually exhausted today.
Yep.
I am finding this whole class much, much harder than any other day because of my body and where my body is at today. And if I did this class 3 days ago, I would not have been having those thoughts. But the truth was, I was having trouble lifting the weights to do the shoulder press. But I didn't want to think about that. I wanted to be angry at somebody else.
Okay, here's another one. You're driving in traffic. Someone cuts you off.
Yeah.
but you left 10 minutes later than you should have.
Oh, yeah, that stinks.
Right?
Yep.
If you'd left 10 minutes earlier,
Yes.
even if this person cut you off, would not have bothered you. Just pull back and go, oh, well, okay,
Yeah.
I've got plenty of time. I've got plenty of buffer.
Yes.
But instead, that
Yeah.
person is
Yeah.
a maniac. Then you end up cutting 2 more people off because you're now behind, right?
And the day's ruined.
The ball's rolling on your day being destroyed.
Yes.
Now, okay, guess what? 365 days a year. If you have 100 of those, it's a third of your life living
So not worth
in
it.
that hell,
Yep.
right? I'll finish on one thing if that's okay, about radical self.
Are we going to finish? I could keep going.
Oh, no, I could, because I've got more things I want to talk to you about. But a couple of things I want you to react to. But this business is not easy. Like if the movie The Matrix, I know you've seen it. You probably looked at your phone for most of it. But you're not a huge movie watcher, and that's fair enough. You'd rather read a book, and I accept that.
I watched it properly when it first came out.
Yeah, but it's a long time ago. It's more than 20 years ago. That's
And
a bit scary.
I'm not old.
No, we're definitely not. We are not. The Matrix question is, when Morpheus turns to him and says, paraphrasing, I'm not promising you anything other than the truth.
Yep.
Basically, right? The rainbows and unicorns are not there. If you want to look this tiger in the eye,
Yeah.
if you want to decide to be radical self-accountability, it's awful
Yes.
for a while.
Yep.
But it's so rewarding and it is so life-changing and it's a lifetime pursuit, right? So you never get, I would say let's say the journey's 100 meters.
Yeah.
We've probably done like 40, 50, maybe. Let's say we're
I
halfway.
feel like I'm at 25.
No, you're further than you think. Anyway, in my opinion, you're further than you think because you're open to it.
Yeah.
You're open to any topic. Doesn't mean your reactions aren't still hardwired in, but you're open to identifying any topic and facing it.
Yep.
Does that mean you're going to face it every time? No. Does that mean that you're not, anyone? Does that mean that you're not going to react anymore? Of course not. You're going to react. You're going to make stupid decisions. You're going to do this. But at different parts, you're going to intervene.
Yes.
Sometimes before, sometimes during, sometimes after. And you're going to go, you know what? This is classic me.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Why did I do this again? Why am I halfway through this pizza when I said I'm on the health kick? Why am I buying the ice cream at the ice cream shop when I'm... And because you just you trick yourself. Your body's like, no. We want to live in the matrix.
Left this project to the last minute.
Again, right? Again, I've left this project to the last minute. It's a really good example. It's like, this time I'm going to plan. And you start writing and then you're like, oh, look, shiny thing.
Yep.
And then it's 2 weeks. Smash cut 2 weeks later. Again. So it's like, it's a lifetime pursuit. It's not easy. You have to start by putting aside your whole fake identity and taking oxygen away
Yeah.
from it. And it's not going to give up easily because it's a safety blanket.
Yes.
Anyway, like that.
No, I
that's
was just
my
going to
view.
say, I think that if you're going to go into this process, you need to have a lot of compassion for yourself.
Yes.
And I think this is maybe a better way of articulating it rather than saying you can't make it some shame fest. Instead, you need to think of yourself like a partner and be forgiving and give them grace and say to yourself, okay, like when I went through this process sort of originally, like there was a lot of things in my life that I had in my head created stories that I was very attached to.
Yep.
Where things had happened where it was not my fault. And the feeling that hits you, the crushing, horrible feeling when you say, okay, actually, I played parts in that thing and that thing and that thing. And it would be very easy at that point to get angry at yourself
Yep.
and hate yourself. But you can't do that. You have to think of it like a person coming to you that you love.
Yes.
Says, I stuffed
A
up.
sister, a spouse, or this.
What
or
would
that.
you
Yep.
say if that person
child.
came to you and said, I stuffed it up? You say, that's okay. It's in the past. Now you know.
Now what?
Now what? And so I think that, you've got to do both. You've got to have a lot of self-compassion and you can't be afraid of what's going to kick up. And then I'd also just want to say, if for anyone who is listening to this or watching this, if this is bringing up this is making you angry at us,
Yeah.
or this is causing physical discomfort or any other really bad emotion, like Christian said, turn the mirror around. If it's not the right time for you, that's okay.
Yeah. But decide that.
That's totally okay.
Yeah.
But the reality that this is the truth is not worth, like, go and scream at a cloud about it. But
No, scream at us if you want.
don't scream at us. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
That's what the block button's for.
Anyway, so yeah, if you're going to do this, be prepared for it to be really, really confronting,
Yep.
really, really uncomfortable,
Yep.
a lifelong pursuit. And then I think thinking of yourself almost as the child is really nice too, because it's almost impossible to get angry at a child who's realised that they've done the wrong thing.
Yeah, that'll work for some. It won't work for all. I think just the expression "treat yourself as someone worth caring about" is a good one. So a spouse or someone, like whatever it is that for you, that is someone you would treat properly. Your little brother, your little sister, your cousin, your spouse, whatever that
Your
would
dog.
be. Your kid, your dog. That's right. It's a really good one.
Like when your dog's done something wrong and it looks at you,
Yeah.
that face,
Guess what? That's how dumb you were when you made that mistake, right? And you're not as dumb anymore. And even turning over this first rock
Yep.
is going to change your life. And it's not going to be easy. And it's not a straight line, but it's game changing. So definitely do it. That was excellent. No, you did very well. You reacted well.
I reacted.
So I posted a video the other day about level 1, 2, 3 leadership, right?
Yeah.
Level 1, level 2, level 3. It's like a hypothesis I'm little working on. It's sort of trying to, because you try and capture things in different packets so that people that are useful to people. And I sort of went along with, and it was, got some reaction, not too much. Probably not as much as I thought, but not too bad. Level 1, level 2, level 3. So level 1 leadership being CEO, managing director, top banana. Mm-hmm. Level 2 being the next level down, whatever that means. That might mean CFO, that might mean general manager, that might mean department heads, like real responsibility.
Yep.
Decisions and advice that supports the CEO, managing director. And then third level is everything else, as far as from team leader up to like a discipline head or a technical expert or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically that anyone committed can get to level 3. Mm-hmm. If you hang around long enough, if you do, if you improve, if you learn your customer, your client, your product, whatever it might be, you can get to level 3. Where you're managing people, leading people, you can get. Now that is a level that has very little actual accountability. It's got maybe a bit of P&L and hire and fire, but it's not heavy. There's no buck stopping with you. Level 2, there are some bucks stopping with you. It's real P&L, it's real accountability, it's real commercial responsibility, but the final buck does not stop with you. Level 1, if you want to get there, CEO, managing director, start your own business and grow it and whatever else. Director, you're the one who's got to go to sleep at night knowing that there are a heap of commercial risks in your organisation and potential, what would you call them, jail time risks with like manslaughter laws and that sort of business, that as a director,
Personal liability
in different criminal and civil, that you are exposed to and that you have oversight for but not total control of.
Yep.
And I think about this a lot. And I'd love your reaction to this. What do you think about that, like the levels of leadership? And what do you think it means? Do you think I'm getting it right about what the level 1 means?
Well, it's all about responsibility, isn't it? And consequences of getting it wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
And I suppose even level 2 and 3, your personal responsibility, your personal exposure is what, losing your job?
Yes.
Maybe reputational risk,
Definitely reputational risk.
Depending on what's the cause.
Yep.
And how you fail.
Well, regardless, you don't want to be the one who's the CFO at a company that has a fraud issue or has that, right? If you're deemed to be asleep at the wheel, even if you're not personally liable. Yeah.
Probably level 1 and 2, I'd feel a different level of responsibility in terms of the people around me. Like that you've got a responsibility for their livelihoods and their professional development, but I wouldn't see a level 3.
Yep.
Am I getting the levels right? I feel like we need to rename them something else.
So No, we'll stick with it for now. But so anything up to the level that doesn't have
Tier 1. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
Okay, so Tier 1 is easily explanatory.
Yep.
I think Tier 2 is fairly easily explanatory.
Yep.
It's anyone whose decision making goes directly to the CEO.
Yep.
And then everything else is everything else.
Yep.
Right? If your reporting line is to a GM who's then reporting to a CEO, you're Tier 3 then, level 3, Tier 3, whatever you want to call it. Like the level of responsibility actual is low.
So you're saying it takes a particular type of person to get to Tier 2 and Tier 1 because of the responsibility.
And risk. So the ability to metabolize risk, I think, so competence is obviously a factor, but people can be political animals and make it and not be as competent as more competent people can be left behind. It's the ability to metabolize the risk and still behave as if it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
With the confidence that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think that in the end is the difference between people making it to Tier 1 or level 1 and not.
Well, because if you don't have a risk appetite, you can't succeed in those roles because every single day there's something that you've got to make a punt on.
But the risk is out of your control, like it or not. It's the big enough business. You have oversight.
Yeah.
You have reporting lines.
Yeah.
But you can't see where your vulnerabilities are. And when a CEO company, like I won't say company, when a bigger company, something goes wrong and it's like, oh, how could you not notice? 1,000 customers got ripped off. It's like the CEO, I have no sympathy for them. They're earning $10, $15, $25 million a year. But I have some sympathy for the fact that they can't know what's going on with these financial advisors in this tiny corner in this little rotten borough. But having the ability to metabolize that risk is like the great filter for Tier 1 leaders, I think. Mm-hmm. What do you reckon? You do summer training on this.
Yes, I like to. I have training for. Often it's when there are employees in a business that are quite senior. And they're looking at taking a shareholder role. And, maybe we'll talk about this another day. People don't really understand the different hats that you can wear. Shareholder, director, employee.
Yes.
It doesn't help that some employees get called directors, but they're not a director in the legal sense.
It's true.
But
it doesn't help at all.
Often, these senior employees want to be an ASIC director. They want to be registered with ASIC as a director of the business. And that's when I come in. And
what do you tell them, Laura?
Present my presentation called, So You Want to Be a Director? And
what colour is their skin after you? Like, how much blood is left in their face after you have that conversation?
We talk through tax is a huge one. Lots of people don't realise that as a director, let's call them an ASIC director, you've got personal liability for the company's tax. So if the company doesn't pay their tax, you can get what's called a director's penalty notice, and the ATO will be coming to get that from you. There's no separating you.
And they'll break through and get everything.
There's no separating you individually from the company in that circumstance. Like you said, there's criminal consequences from OH&S. There's the corporate manslaughter. There are all the workplace health and safety issues. Again, the super gets tied in to director obligations. There is a whole... So now I'm going to go and do a history lesson, but can I do it?
A history lesson?
So back in the day, corporations didn't exist.
Yep.
Corporations are a completely made up, false construct.
Everything is a construct.
It's a totally made up thing.
Yes.
But we made them up and we believe in them. So anyway.
It was one of the great moments for humanity, in my opinion.
I think it was shipping. It started with the shipping tycoons. They were all owning ships and and guess what? Something went wrong. They'd go down with the ship personally. And so they created...
The East India Trading Company.
Maybe. I can't remember. I don't know. You're probably better from that perspective.
It would be around that time, I suspect.
They created this concept of the corporation, and what was created was called the corporate veil. Yeah, so it would put in between the director or the owners as well, this corporation, and then any liability hit the business. And so that's why we see things like companies go into liquidation, people walk away, and then they go and
drive
start
away
again.
in their Ferrari. Yep.
The corporate veil. The law over at least the last, 50 years, especially in Australia, has worked very hard at piercing the corporate veil.
Yep.
So I think people are still of this mindset that it's the company's problem and I'll get off scot-free. But there are a whole rafts of legislation that are actively designed to pierce that veil, go through the company and bang, get to the director. So
what's your expression about a duck?
What's that got to? I don't get.
You say if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, a judge is going to call it a duck, and they're coming after you.
You can set up all these fancy structures, but at the end of the day, if you're in there, if you are senior, if you have the ultimate responsibility, there will
Tier 1 leadership.
There will be ways that you will be exposed personally. You cannot stand behind your company as a director and assume that you can set things on fire from the corporate perspective.
And just walk away.
And
Phoenix it up, yeah. Okay, so my tier 1, level 1 leadership thing's not sticking with you, clearly, so we'll just let it go.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm feeling like you're not connecting with it very well, and that's fine. So we'll call it director and non-director level responsibility.
I like tiers. It was the numbers that were confusing me.
Right. So tier 1 leaders who get to that top office.
Yes.
Director, CEO, managing director, like the real ASIC, as you say, right? I mean, how would you be willing to ballpark what percentage of them actually understand their exposure? If I picked 100 random people, would you think that half of them would understand what their real exposure is?
Half.
Yeah,
half. And I'm not being critical about that. There's a lot of smaller businesses that have grown because their directors and owners are exceptional business people. Things have gone well,
yeah.
And they've just never had to turn their mind to it. And that's that conversation about what it means to be a shareholder and a director, and then there's trust. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, and we will have that conversation one day, because it's interesting. It's boring, but it's interesting, if that makes sense. Oh, God, it is so boring. But it's also awesome.
So I don't think it's a criticism, but I think that people who are running sophisticated, large businesses are very cognizant of their risks.
Yeah.
And the very smart ones put in what I call the pillars of defence.
Talk to me. I like the sound of this.
Between that veil and the legislation that's trying to come and get them.
You're talking about offshore bank accounts, and is that what you mean?
Money under the mattress.
That's right.
I'm not going to talk about the structures because
no, and that wasn't the intent. The intent was my point is that you might think in your career you want to go and be CEO, managing director, a director of a business, that sort of thing. And I would encourage it. You should go and start your own business. You go and do it. You should absolutely do it. It's the best thing you'll do in your life. But know what you're getting into. Know that if you want to go to tier 1, level 1, top cat leadership, there's a whole raft of things, of risks that you're going to have to be able to sleep at night with.
So maybe, the tier 1 leaders who are exceptional have taken the radical self-accountability course in their minds. They understand that they're ultimately responsible.
Yep.
There's no offloading accountability. Buck stops with them.
Yep.
Consequences flow to them.
Yep.
And yet they get out of bed every day and they make decisions.
Yeah.
They punt on risks.
Yep.
And they're okay with it.
I like that. No, I think it's true. And the best ones obviously do. They do exactly that. The also very smart people understand that they're a number 2 or a number 3. And I don't mean now tiers. I mean that they're not the person best suited to take on that risk appetite and continue. They're best advising that person, or they're best being a subject matter expert, rising to a good level and handing that final level of authority over to somebody else.
Some people don't want it, and that's
Most people don't want it, and most people shouldn't want it because they're not wired that way. It's a certain type of, frankly, in some cases, bloody sociopath that is wired that way to go, how can you seriously sleep at night knowing what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand. With a serious big organisation, I don't know how you do it. Okay. So I like that segment. That was fun. I don't know if it resolved anything. I've got a few fun psychological, if we have time, I have fun psychological little
Torture.
torture devices. That's right.
All right.
Have you heard of
hit
the
me.
spotlight effect? Yes, exactly that. Gilovich et al. Now, this is an interesting one. It's basically the spotlight effect study is that we think more people are looking at us more closely than they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So we live our life as if people care at all
Yes.
about what we're doing or saying or this sort of thing. And that inhibits us in our being ourselves.
Yep.
And it ties in somewhat to what we were talking about earlier, is that we're worried that there's this big spotlight on us. Guess what? Nobody cares. There's no spotlight. Go and do your thing. What do you think about that?
Nobody cares. Everyone's too busy with
And anyone who
themselves.
does, who cares? Like
Yeah.
those that mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Okay. Goalwitz's implementation. So people who make if-then plans have like some ridiculously high probability of success when it comes to delivering. So it's like something like, if it's 8 a.m., I go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
If I go out, I do not drink. If I do this, then I
Yes.
do this. And people who make plans that way, the probability of success was like,
So there's no decision making in the moment.
right. It's like if when. If I do this, then when I do this, right?
If I walk home from work,
If
I
then,
get a
not if
loco
when.
chocolate
If
every
then.
single day.
If I'm walking home, then I get a loco chocolate. That's right. But I don't get 5.
Sounds boring.
If then, not if when. So we'll repeat that. What have we got? The pratfall effect. With competent people, why are you laughing at me? With competent people, when
Yeah.
they make a mistake, it's extremely endearing
Oh, that's cute.
if they're considered competent. So imagine someone's real expert in their field,
Yes.
right? And then they make a mistake. It's much, much more endearing to them. Okay, 1 and 2 more. The planning fallacies from Kamen and Tversky is that we always underestimate how badly we're going to plan something or overestimate how quickly we're going to finish something, and it doesn't change, and everyone gets that wrong. Sunk cost fallacy, where we'll continue to invest in things that are dead.
Sunk cost. Oh, yeah.
Because we think we've invested so much, we have to keep going.
Yes.
And the final one, before we let's just stop, is regret aversion. People will make decisions based on the risk of regret
FOMO.
of a risk, the downside risk of getting it wrong, rather than the possible upside risk. Most people
We
will
focus on the
potential regret.
We focus on the bad outcome as being our driver.
We're going to avoid that at all costs.
Got it.
No, the price can never be high enough to avoid that. Okay. All right, that's where we're leaving it today. Let's just stop. Is there anything else you want to add, Laura, Racky?
No.
I'm loving this jacket. I would like to see it more often. Thank you. And this, what do you call this style when things don't match?
Things don't match. I don't have a name for it.
We need to work on that.
I've
We've the
got
boots and
cowboy
everything.
boots.
Adidas pants.
I've got sport pants. They're made of satin. And then a leather jacket. I don't know. And I'm wearing, they're not diamonds, but
We're moving closer to Texas by the day.
it's never going to happen.
We'll see about that.